Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Mental Attire, the meeting series. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about the gift of guilt. I'm Cleopatra.
I'm Caitlin.
And I am Amy.
So, I think we kind of briefly brought this up last time. I'm not completely for sure, but obviously, our our videos up to this point, we're talking about our mental attire and how what we're mentally wearing affects us physically and the message that we're putting out into the world. But we haven't really delved into the topic of guilt and why we think it's important not to dwell on it, but how it can be a gift when we recognize it.
Mhm.
So that's kind of what we want to talk about today. And of course, it always goes off on little other topics too, but that's our main topic for today.
Well, I would say, as you said, it can be a gift because it can keep us in check with what God would say is best for us and who are we dressing for. And if I'm not feeling any guilt, I'm pretty much numbed out and indifferent. And I'm evidently looking out there in the world, and either I'm comparing myself or, um, I, I'm worried about what other people are going to say, or I'm maybe not dressing wisely. And so I'm not dressing for God, I'm dressing for others, which, if you're dressing for your family, your spouse, there's that, but we got to first dress for God. But God's made it where, okay, I want to keep you in check too.
Exactly. And I think it's important to remember that it's okay to have those convictions. Sometimes we'll push it off and maybe even deep down inside feel yucky about what we're wearing, what we're putting on. But we kind of push that off. It's okay to have those convictions and be like, okay, I need to go back to the closet, or even, I need to go back to the Bible about, what I'm mentally, my mental state, and get that clarity. It's okay to have that. It's a good thing to feel that sort of conviction or that guilt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one I feel like it's become so like the opposite. It's become the opposite. Like people's mindset about it is that like you're not supposed to feel any guilt. You're not supposed to feel any shame for like anything actually, let alone how you're dressing. And so I think that it's going against the grain, kind of like a lot of what we've talked about too. Is that it's not like talked about. I mean, you can look at a lot of like self-help books, and not all of them are bad or anything like that. But it's always like you're perfect the way you are. You don't need to change. You don't need to feel guilt. And it's like, well, it's a matter of like come as you are, but you can't stay as you are. You can't. You know what I mean? You have to be willing to change and repent and all of that. And so I feel like it's become so normalized to not need to change and not need to repent. So then when you have those feelings, it's like, oh, you shouldn't even have those feelings when in reality, it's a good thing, like you were saying, Caitlin. Um, but then it's also what you do with them too. Like if you just ignore them, like you said, or if you actually take them to heart and are like, okay, what is this trying to teach me? I don't understand it. Like, what is it trying to teach me?
Yes, I would say, what is it trying to teach me? And am I listening? Or, we've unconsciously became so programmed and conditioned and trained through others, like you said, society, the cultural norms, what's so socially acceptable. You do you,
Yeah.
the me-dom, the me mentality. It's all about me or me first or whatever. And I think it's people are just programmed to not even realize that this is important. They don't even have any thoughts, any consciousness, conscience between right or wrong.
Yeah, and like,
Yeah, I agree. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, I think it's knowing, like, that's where you have to know what's truth and what's not truth, and like not always necessarily like your guilt and your convictions, you need to follow that, but you need to make sure you know truth, so you know you're following truth. Sometimes your feelings will lead you astray, but knowing truth and the convictions within that truth, well, kind of, I guess in a way it sounds cliche, but it will set you free. You're following what is meant for you, what is right, what God intended for you. That makes sense.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, and I think going with that, it will set you free, which is the irony part, because everybody thinks the other is actually setting them free, and actually they're being held captive by this because it's doing more harm than good for them. And that's the ironic part of it. And what do you both think about ideas that we can provide of how they can learn more, for people who have not, maybe are just hearing this for the first time and they're going, I don't know, I'm really skeptical about that, or they're to the point past skepticism to cynicism, very cynical about it. And what steps can people take to learn more about this, so they can actually get to the point of going from numbness and indifference and dressing for social media, or dressing for peers, or dressing for activities that are really not doing great things for them, to conscience dressing, mindful dressing, mental attire dressing?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, I think like we've talked about extensively, and that's kind of the meaning behind this series, is asking what you're mentally wearing, because it does translate into what you're physically wearing. And then also asking yourself, who are you dressing for? Like we talked about, it's not that you can't be dressing positively for your family or for your spouse or even for yourself, but is it honoring God with how you're dressing? Because you can be honoring God in dressing for yourself and for your family and for your spouse or whoever it is. So like, it's not that it can't be like to get, like you can't have, like you have to have one or the other. It's a matter of it can be together. And so, I mean, I guess maybe just sit with it too, just to like see if there's any convictions that you felt or that you're suppressing. Would be probably the first step to like kind of recognizing them.
When I think
Go ahead.
taking those convictions, and then taking a step and actually following through with what, like those good convictions, following through with those. And I feel like it's gonna eat at you if you don't. And there I don't know, there's like a deep, just like if you're knowing to do right and wrong and you still do wrong, there is something that eats at you deep inside when you know you've done wrong. And I feel like those convictions are there to help you and to guide you along in life. That's how God put things in place. And so I think that's what we need to go back to. And it may sound just simple, and it's not always simple. It's hard sometimes to do the right thing in a way, but it's a very, and I go back to it, freeing, and it's a very gratifying. I guess it makes you feel satisfied deep down inside whenever you choose to follow those convictions.
Yeah, and I think like when you said gratifying, it makes me think of like instant or delayed gratification, and like it might seem delayed at first because it's so unfamiliar and it's new. If you're actually taking the action steps after you realize your convictions, then taking the action steps like Caitlin mentioned, it's probably going to seem like delayed gratification instead of like instant gratification for however long. And I mean, I don't know if you cannot really necessarily measure a specific timeline of that, so like it's not like it's going to be the same for everyone. Um, but it's also realizing that that's not a bad thing. It's okay for there to be, whether it's a waiting period or kind of like almost a transition period too. Um, because you have to replace the thoughts in your head. You know what I mean? So like, it's not gonna just happen overnight. um,
And I've watched so many girls, like, I think they do reach out for that. It's the instant gratification because it comes so quickly. So that guilt that maybe they do feel, that's why they push it off, because they can get that instant gratification. Um, and it's sad because you see it, like I see it, maybe ruining that person deep down inside. And there's always the chance to that's why we have this. There's always that chance for a fresh start, if that makes sense. But you kind of see it, just like I said, ruining them. So it's important to know that, yes, like you said, it's not going to be an instant thing, but it's knowing you're honoring God with your choices.
Well, and here's an idea, going with what you both said, which is excellent, is also, I don't have it right here with me, but we made up cards of what are you mentally wearing today?
Mm-hmm.
And putting that by any mirrors when you're looking at yourself in the mirror, or in your bathroom mirror, or on the fridge, or on a cupboard, or in a place in your closet, or put these, or just write it down, or type it up and print it out or something. But what are you mentally wearing today, and who are you wearing it for, and why?
Yeah.
And so keep yourself in check with it, and it will help you, like you were talking about reprogramming. We've got to reprogram our brain and our body because we have trained it to be a certain way, and actually devices and other people, just by seeing it, we've trained ourselves.
Well, I would say, like, if you have a specific area that you struggle with more, you can write down whether it's a question or just like a reminder, basically, specific to you. So, like, this is a reminder, and you can put it with like the question of what you're mentally wearing today, but then it's specifically for you to remember, because it's only for you, really, between you and God. And so I feel like that would also be a good thing to do too, of like if you're struggling with a certain area, or struggling with a certain, I don't know if you would, type of, I don't know how to say it, how you're dressing, or what your thoughts are, or that kind of thing, a certain conviction that comes to you, basically. Write it down, and then you can have it, hung up there or whatever, so that you can remind yourself of it, and you kind of like, it's keeping yourself in check, but it's specific to what you're kind of dealing with, or what kind of convictions you feel.
Well, and I would say also to help you, if you don't have family members, do you have family members or somebody you could talk to and say, I'm working on this. Can you please help me be accountable?
I was getting ready to say
Or if there's any friends, or if not, contact us. We can also help you brainstorm ideas of who can help you be accountable, because doing this all on our own, we should not have to. Life is not meant to do alone. We need other people to help us be accountable. That's what we have our family for, and it depends the state that your family's in, but there's always going to be somebody that God will provide to be able to help. And so don't do this alone. We would encourage you to reach out to us or someone else that is going to be helping you be accountable. And you can go to, we have our weaknesses, we have our moments, we have our temptations and everything, but please do make a concerted effort at this, because it will pay off. Like you both said, delayed gratification.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, and I think it also needs to be, whoever you're going to, you need to know that, like, first of all, they care about you, but if they care about you that much, then they're going to be honest with you. So it's not like they're going to be harsh or anything like that, but they're going to be honest. And if they see you, struggling with something and it might not be that you see it right away, like they'll come to you and say, "Hey, I think you might need to, recheck your priorities or like just kind of take a moment to reflect." And they're gonna do it in a loving and kind way, but also they're going to there's a word, I mean not like firm way, but like like a way that like they actually care. They're not just gonna like allow it to slide, because if they did, then they wouldn't care as much as you want them to.
Well, and
And
I
I'd
think
rather
that's how our,
yeah.
yeah. Well, and I think that's how we've gotten the position we're in. Everybody's just, well, it's okay. And it just keeps growing and growing and snowballing, and look at the position we're in.
Right.
Guilt is non-existent. Well, the gift of guilt was designed to help us be accountable with God and how God is wanting us to live. And so, look at your mental attire and how you're dressing and behaving, but, it's okay to feel guilt.
Mm.
It's a good thing.
I would say if
and
you're
if you,
not feeling it, it's not a good thing.
Yeah. 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 I would agree with that. I think it almost becomes easier once you start realizing it's okay to not in the way of like you were like, oh yay, I feel guilty again, or I feel convicted, because like I don't know if that's like actually a thing, but it's kind of like a muscle that you strengthen. So if you start to acknowledge it and become more aware of it, then it becomes easier in the sense of like you can recognize it sooner. So it's not that it's like easier or more exciting to feel that, but like you recognize it sooner, so then you can evaluate what you need to change sooner. And so I think that's kind of what I'm trying to say is like, once you've realized, when I do something like this, or when I dress this way, or whatever it is, and it's not just about how you dress, it could be any area of your life, I feel the guilt and I feel convicted, and either you're shoving it under the rug, like you're mentioning, or you're doing something about it. And so, yeah, I think you'll start strengthening that muscle the more that you use it.
Mhm.
And you'll gain confidence and you'll feel a lot better, and you're actually going to see your life change for the better, because that's going to ripple into every area of your life. And just know that, okay, if it feels uncomfortable, then you're probably on the right track.
Yeah.
You know, but where God guides, God will provide. So takeaways from today.
Well, like our title says, recognizing the gift of guilt, which is sometimes easier said than done when you're starting out, but then as you start to become more aware of it, it might become easier or just more familiar to you. And also, not doing things alone, not doing life alone. So reaching out to someone who you trust to encourage you, but also to keep you accountable in the journey of understanding, your convictions and everything. So I think that's a couple of takeaways.
When I think, guilt is a good thing. Those convictions are a good thing. And taking those steps, because like you can have that guilt, you can have that conviction, and we've said it before, but taking those steps to listen, to like just to stop, to pause, and to listen, and then to take action, and to know, yeah, you're not the only one. There are people out here, lots of people out here, and finding an accountability partner, I think is so good, so good to have someone who, like you said, is not going to just pat you on the head and say you're doing a good job, but actually help you and guide you and help lead you in truth. That's a good true friend.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say put notes up, put them
Mm-hmm.
on your phone, put reminders in your phone, put a note in your closet, mirrors, etc. And also piggybacking onto quiet time. Sit quietly with God, listen, turn off noise, turn off distractions, turn off technology, and set a timer and just sit there and have a pen and paper and just chat with God and listen. Converse with God, but get quiet. It's okay. Well, ladies, thank you. I think there's a lot of great takeaways from today. And we appreciate all of you, and we are thankful for you. And please do reach out. No one shall do life alone. And till next time, we enjoyed seeing you.